Hello and welcome to Cloud Forest Vibes. My name's Bobby, and this is how I grow orchids and carnivorous plants. Hello and welcome to Cloud Forest Vibes. So, I have not been able to make a video in quite a while, and today's video is going to be a huge update video. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of stuff in the tent. I think we might even go over to the tank and talk about a bunch of stuff there, and to kind of give you guys an update on myself and situation and everything and what's going on moving forward. So let's start with that. The big elephant in the room. I have not been able to really be a part of social media or YouTube much in the last, 6 weeks or so. Between house hunting, job related stuff, dog health issues, holiday stuff, everything compiled on top of one another, and it just became crazy. So I have not had really any time to respond to all your comments, make new videos, edit old videos, or anything like that. I've done a couple little videos here and there, trying to keep things going, but I had to just take a quick break and sort a whole bunch of my stuff out so I can come back strong and keep rolling. And this is the start of that. Thankfully, everything has started to calm down and finally resemble some sort of normal again. We've had everything from, crazy winter storms. I lost my primary mode of transportation, all kinds of stuff, just, one thing after another seemingly. And finally, starting to balance out, like I said, thankfully. So here we are. Lots of stuff has happened. I haven't been able to capture a lot of it, and I'm sorry about that. But as we whiz through here, I will talk about it. I'm going to show you a whole lot of progress, plant-related progress. We have new blooms all over the place, new blooms coming all over the place, and a lot of exciting orchid news. My apartment hunt fell through, my house hunt fell through, everything fell through, so I've also taken some time over the past few weeks kind of redecorating and rearranging and making my home more livable, and I am almost complete, thankfully. This is the last weekend of madness, redecorating and remodeling and stuff like that, and the next stop is here. So this might not be the last video in this tent as you see it, but it's going to be close. I think we're within about a month or so of me upgrading my full setup. I'm gonna tear this entire room apart. I'm gonna redo this entire grow room and give myself a whole lot more growing space. So that's gonna be a fun project. You guys are gonna be along with me for the ride on that as well. So that's interesting news. Let's see. It is a new year, so happy New Year's to all of you. I know I'm a bit late, but it is a very strong, strong starting year so far. Lots and lots is going on. Lots has already happened. So, anyway, having all that said, thank you guys so much for your patience. Thank you for joining me today, and we are going to get right into this. I know the action is all in there. That's what we're all interested in. So, let's get in there and talk about these orchids. Looking around here, you may notice already we have added more plants again. Yes, you have unboxing videos that you have not seen yet that are quite old at this point in time, and lots and lots more goodies have come in. So we've redecorated a bit. We've got plants now hanging on plants, which is interesting to say the least. It makes getting to that back row quite difficult, so we're going to tour this section right now and then we're going to have to remove some stuff so we can get back there and see all the action on the back wall. But that is always fun. So I guess starting over here, we've got lots and lots of real shady, cool loving plants doing their thing, growing strong, growing really happy. We've got lots and lots of new stuff. This plant here is not a newbie, but it's in bloom. You can stop in and take a look at that first. This is let's see, I can't even remember anymore. Let me pull the whole thing. Yep. Sorry. This is Pleurophthalus schweinfurthii, and it has awesome little blooms. They come around about once a year. You get these little sprays. I've only got 2 spikes on it this time. but this plant has been through a lot. It was repotted in a bark and moss mix with some charcoal and perlite. It's doing well. That's what I've grown this in traditionally for quite some time. It went bad. I let it stay in its old pot too long and I had some issues, but I know better now. This is that Pleurophthalus that Daryl sent me. It's growing quite nicely, lots and lots of new roots. I put it in a coconut husk mix. This was my first Pleurophthalus to go in that, and it is growing quite happily, I may say. Let me zoom out. It's standing on its own. I mean, it's got a lot of new growths. They're small coming down here, but the plant's basically kind of restarting itself. Pleurophthalus will do that. If you piss them off too much, they will kind of go backwards and almost start themselves over from seedling status. This Pleurophthalus here, this is Adelaide. This I got from In Situ Orchids not too long ago. I put it in a husk mix as well in a basket, and it is just taking off. All these growths are new growths, so I'm happy to say that plant is doing quite well. Didn't seem to have much of an adjustment. It just kind of hit the pot and started running, which is great. A lot of these plants you see up here, those are some of the new Bulbophyllums, the Tarzan unboxings you've seen, I believe, now at this point in time. Lots of other new plants and Pleurophthalids, mostly Pleurophthalids down here. Really cool. They're doing really well. Looking down a little further, we've got my Draculas. They're doing well. They're doing okay, I should say. I let them get a little bit too dry a few times. You'll see some real wrinkled leaves and the new growths are kind of curled up. That's because they got way too dry a few times. I'm dropping some older foliage. They are starting to compensate, but they are growing. There's lots of new roots. I've had a couple beautiful blooms. This spike just finished blooming. I missed it, but I think I have pictures. If I do, I will throw them up now while I talk. And I do have another spike coming right here, so we will see this. Again, that's the Andretea that I got from Andes. It's doing really, really well. The other Draculas are across from it, down here. They're also doing quite well. The live moss on these mounts is just blown up this year. My Chestertonii has really kind of taken off. It's doing a lot of good things. No signs of flower spikes yet, I hate to say, but lots and lots of growth, and the growth is getting to be pretty good sized again, so I'm very happy about that. The Carteri, or Inequalis, over here, it started to scare me a bit. It was dropping some leaves, but it started to push out a whole bunch of new growth. So sometimes they do that. They trade some old for some new. I believe I overfed this thing a couple times. I have some leaf tip issues, but I have since stopped feeding so high, stopped mixing it around so much. These are overdue for a remount, and that is going to happen here in the next few weeks once I get my new space situated. I'm going to have to go through a lot of these plants and change up a lot of the old stuff for new. Coming up here a bit, this shelf we don't look at quite a bit. This is actually Dendrobium that Brenda over at Orchid gave me. This is the Dendrobium tenellum, and I'm happy to say this thing has just really taken off this year. It spent a year sulking, but this year it really has kind of come into its own. It's got lots and lots of new growth up here, lots of root activity, as you see. It even had a keiki which I pulled off and kind of stuck down here at the base, which is kind of taking off as well. So this plant, hopefully, maybe this next year too, we'll see finally bloom. It's a weirdo. It's a grassy, hairy, weird thing, so I just love it. This plant right here is actually a Mormolica, and I love that genus, as you guys may know. This is Mormolica Schwein. Well, let me see. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Yep. This is Mormolica Schweinfurthiana, and it has several spikes on it. One of them blasted. Since then, I've started keeping it a bit drier, and I've noticed that it seems to like it. It's loving the cool nights. And we've got 1, 2, 3 chances to see this awesome flower. This almost looks like a Lepanthes. The pictures of it I've seen, at least. I have never seen this in person. It would be a first-time bloomer, but it's come a long way from being a sad, dying, last resort division that has just finally taken off and it's doing its thing. So very, very excited to see that. I've had lots of luck with this genus this past season. This is Dendrobium laterale. I got this from HD Orchids. It's been growing really well. It's dropped some foliage. It's been getting a little bit drier of a rest. It's about that time for most of the Dendrobiums. I'm growing them all much drier. I get plenty of cool temperatures at night right now. And I just noticed it's got a little spike on it right here. So that's something to look out for. Another thing that I think is just about ready to burst, and I couldn't be more happy. This is a Ornithocephalus powellii, and it's got its first 2 spikes on it for me. Love this genus, recently got into them, and it is going to reward us with some blooms here very soon. This little plant, it's impossible to get these tiny little blooms in camera, but I will take pictures and I will throw them up as I speak. This is a Dendrobium Myanmar species that I got from Tarzan Group. It's a first time bloomer for me, and it is just starting to open up its first spike up here. It's dropping some leaves finally. It grew mostly into the winter, honestly, and just started to kind of go deciduous now that it's blooming. Let's see, guys, lots and lots of good stuff. We can look over here. This little Dendrobium, this is my Helwegianum, and this, I can say, honestly, is its best performance yet for me. It is just smothered in these beautiful little pink flowers. It's actually dropped several from these back canes already. I didn't quite catch it at its peak, but as you can tell, it's not that bad. It still looks really good. Very excited about that. I've got this little plant right here. This is one of my new genus that I've gotten into recently, and I was poking my head around before I made this video because I wanted to see if I could catch all the good progress. This is Gastrocylus cerureus. This I got from the Tarzan Group, and I can happily say, hiding on the back side of that, hopefully you can see that, is its first flower spike. So this should be in bloom in the not too distant future as well. That'll be my first Gastrocylus proper to bloom. I believe that is all. Oh, you know what? It's not. It is not. This right here. Oh, how could I miss this? Is a very special plant. I got this from In Situ Orchids. This is Bulbophyllum elastiglossum, and it has opened up several flowers. This is one of the ones I really am upset that you guys missed, but thankfully enough, you haven't missed it. Now, you may be asking, what is wrong with that bloom? This is one of those Bulbophyllum species that opens its flowers up at night. During the daytime, these flowers tend to close. So I've got pictures of this plant at like 6 in the morning, and that was the only way I could get them with the flowers fully open. I'll roll the pictures up here now while I talk. But thankfully, we have one more left, and I will try my hardest to get a better picture of this, or at least wake up early enough to get this thing on video for you guys so you can see for yourself. But it is a really neat Bulbophyllum. It's growing like a weed. I've got at least 7 or 8 new growths on there, so it's taking over that little shingle. It's starting to produce some pretty nice, decent roots, so it's going to be time here in the very near future to get it off of that and onto most likely a piece of tree fern. This Bulbophyllum lasiocylum dark, I put this on tree fern not very long ago, and again, my new media experiments are going extraordinarily well. My next video will be catching you guys up on that, but as you see, look at all those new growths. I mean, it is just smothered in new growths. There's probably a dozen or more, so I'm hoping for big things from that. It's finally happy. And yeah, that is going to conclude this section. That's everything that we've got to look at right now. Let me move some things around and we will get deeper into the tent. Give me just a moment. So we're in here again. I've flipped my little hanging rack around after emptying off the side that we looked at, so we can take a nice close look at all the plants on this side. This is Cattleya nobilior Amaliae. This is one of the plants that Daryl gave me, and this was one of our media experiments. So I put this on a piece of tree fern with a little bit of synthetic, and as you see, it has really taken well to the tree fern. I was worried about the thick fleshy Cattleya roots adapting and doing well, but as you see, they burrow right in. and they do their thing. I keep it pretty dry, especially this time of year. But the nice thing is I can give it a spray. I don't have to soak it down. I can just spray away. It'll retain a nice amount of moisture on the surface of the tree fern itself for an amount of time, and then it dries right out. It's really, really great. What is this, Myrmecophila? This is doing great. It's got a new growth pushing back there. Had a nice flush of roots this season. We've got all these roots dangling off of it now. The Barcaria palmeri as well. It's finally finished its last bloom here. Oh, finally really finished its last bloom there, and it has produced lots of roots this season, so I'm expecting big things from this. It's quite purple, as you notice. The spider farmer light is extremely bright, so this may find a new home. I might have to tweak things a bit, but I haven't been in any crazy rush because everything in here is going to get a massive change here in the not too distant future. Scanning down more, we've got more Cattleya types. This is Teensy Weensy. It's putting on a nice new growth back there. We've got the Cattleya, gosh, now I can't remember, Araguayensis that I got from HD Orchids. That has put on a really nice new growth back here, and it has put on a real big flush of roots. It's also loving the tree fern. The Dendrobium, Senili, the old man, it's doing okay. It's finally lost all of its leaves, put on some roots, but it looks like crap right now because that's what they do this time of year. All the other things, the Gastrochyllus, this is Calceolaris, it's put on some nice new growth, lots of roots. The Dendrobium spectabile right here, it's got a new growth hiding back there in the back. It's put on tons and tons of roots. It's really loving the synthetic. This is just synthetic on bark, and as you see, guys, it is going quite well so far. The Dendrobium parishii, it's finished growing. It's got its terminal leaves on both growths, and it is just kind of hanging out. I'm waiting for it to drop leaves and start producing buds, I'm hoping. I need to tune my temperatures a little bit in here, I think. I haven't been cracking the window every night. It's been so bitterly cold outside, and I didn't want to shock them. I'm growing it a little bit warmer this year than I have in past years, and so far it's going well, but I do think that some of the Dendrobiums especially would be happier maybe 2 or 3 degrees cooler, so we may try to achieve that here in the near future. The, let's see, Dendrochilums. This is Dendrochilum wenzelii red, and this is Dendrochilum gracile. They're both growing like weeds. I've moved them over onto this rack. They're getting lots more light than they were before, and they really, really are enjoying it quite a bit. They're still pretty shaded. They grow, you know, underneath all of these other plants, so it's got its own little microclimate, but as you see, they're just turning into little bushes. No signs of blooms yet from this. I'm hoping in the spring, and we will just have to keep our fingers crossed. So let me move all these guys out of our way. I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. As I'm moving them, I'm watering and feeding as well. So all the stuff that we've already taken off back here on my hanging rack is nice and moist, and they're going to get joined by some freshly watered plants. We'll be right back. Okay, so we have pushed past, we have gotten this rack out of our way, and now we can really take a nice look at this blinding white beauty. This is Dendrobium rotostictum. Yes, these flowers are still with us. Months and months later, it has just dropped its first bloom off of this spike here. So just now starting to fade, I hate to say, but I have lots of new growth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 new growths coming on this plant already. It's going to be a nice season of growth hopefully with this, and hopefully next year we can really see a giant flush of these awesome blooms. This was my best blooming yet, my first blooming on my own really since I got the plant, and it's just my favorite Dendrobium still. I love this plant. I will always love this plant, and I just hope it keeps growing happily like this. Lots and lots of other Dendrobiums here. The Lotogesii variegated, it's doing its thing. It hasn't really started dropping leaves yet. Again, I think that may be the temperatures, which is why I think for the next couple months I'm going to sink it down just a couple more degrees until the February warm up. I've got other new Dendrobiums here. This is a Hemimelanoglossum. It is in spike all over the place. I lost, I hate to say, the biggest cane. It had a huge cane. It is right here in this little pot. It got some rot at the base. I snipped it. I dipped it in some rooting hormone. I am desperately hoping to save it. I don't know if it's going to work. I've seen Lynn Smith kind of propagate canes this way, so I'm hoping maybe this will work for me. I've got it in here with a little bit of the synthetic, and I just keep it a little bit moist. That's it. So other news in the way of blooms, the Sologeny incrustata that I got from Institute Orchids, this is its third bloom on this little spike here. I absolutely adore this plant. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites. I did notice it's got a new growth just starting on that growth that bloom is on. We did have our lovely Sophronitelia violacea in bloom, and you guys missed it. I'm so sorry. I don't even know if we caught it. Maybe we did. If not, I'll throw some pictures up here. I cannot remember the last time I did a little whiz around if that was open yet. The Violaceum blue here was, but again, I am really doubting that this is Dendrobium Violaceum blue. I really think this is Violaceum pink. It's a beautiful Dendrobium. I do love these. It's kind of like a bigger version of Hemimelanoglossum in a way, except the foliage is not so grassy, hairy, and weird. This little Laelia here has surprised me. It opened up another bloom just in the last day or two. This was its growth that kind of started late in the season, and apparently it's still happy enough to open itself up. It's kind of misshapen because of, kind of misshapen because it opened up against the leaf in a funny way, but that is Laelia harpophylla, and I know Nina will be happy to see this if she is watching. So back again, beautiful, beautiful plant. Had a really great season with this. We did a care collab video. I'll throw a link somewhere up wherever it shows up here so you guys can see that if you'd like. But awesome little plant. Speaking of some awesome little plants, these little cluster here hanging, last couple in our way before I move them out of our way and we can continue on. These are some really awesome little plants, starting with this one here. This is a very special plant to me. I don't think we've looked at it since I got it, but this is my green bean. This was from Justin over at Justin's Orchids, and it's been a while since I've been in touch with him and my dear friend Paula because of the same reasons I haven't really produced videos. But Justin, this is the green bean. I don't know if you can see that or not, but look at all those roots. Purple root tips, guys. Purple and pinkish, kind of brownish. Really neat. Haven't seen any signs of new growth come on it yet, but it is doing well. Very, very healthy little plant still. I keep it hanging here on this basket. You know, like I said, I've got plants on plants everywhere you look. And this little basket here is Encyclia garciana. I got this plant from Andy's just before the winter season started, or maybe at the very beginning of winter, and it had 5 little bulbs on it when it came, and it was just starting, you know, a new growth here. I'm happy to say it's actually got 1, 2, 3, and 4, including that one, new growth. So this plant is effectively doubling in size. The roots are growing out of control. I have not touched the pot. It's still in a pot of moss, but I grow it extremely dry. I just kind of spray it down once a week or so, and so far so good. I've lost some root tips once they get out from the pot a bit, so that's a bit concerning, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up putting this thing on a nice piece of tree fern. It's a perfect candidate for it. It'll spread out, the roots will burrow right in. I think they like to be a little bit moist but airy, and so far all the Cattleya types that I've put on tree fern have really, really excelled. A bit surprised at that still, but tree fern has so many interesting properties, and once you start playing with it and learning how it acts in your environment, I think you can grow just about anything on it, honestly. Fantastic medium. I can't say enough good things about it. Scanning over here, I've got lots and lots of new stuff. This here is a epiphytic cactus. Some leaves broke off. I have some plants in my living room. It fell off the shelf, and I just stuck the leaves down in this little pot, and lo and behold, it is just multiplying like crazy. I propagated it and now it's doing its thing. So this lives in here for now, and I think it's going to stay in here. Honestly, it grows a lot stronger than the one in the living room. I think it really loves the humidity, so we will stick with that. This big Pleurothallus from Yoshi, that's its newest leaf. It's getting real big. It's got more new growths coming and a pot full of new roots, so it is almost time. I think we're going to get this off that basket soon and into a different environment. Lots of plants over here. This is that Maxillaria, geez, not Maxillaria, idiot. Zygopetalum maxillare. Close, see guys, not too confused. I got from Michael. It's doing really well. It's starting to really grow out of this pot, so this is going to be one of my next projects. I'm going to get that on a mount, most likely again tree fern. This whole mess that you're looking at right here is why our friend Lynn hates species Tolumnias. I've got a Tolumnia bahamensis back there. This is its growth from last season. I've had to prop it up because now it's got another vine coming off of it. We've got another growth back here with a vine coming off of it, and it's just starting to really take over this whole window area, which means it's happy, which means I'm happy, but it is kind of a pain in the butt. This Brassavola nodosa, Bill Spots, again, another gift from Justin. I'll have to pull this down so everybody can see it, but this thing has just started to really eat its mount. All those roots are just amazing. I love, love, love seeing that. Lots of good new growths, growing strong. I'm sure this thing is eager for summer weather, and so am I, honestly, at this point in time. We've had lots and lots of winter. Oh, geez. There we go, guys. Blabbing. Lots and lots of winter weather here, and I am absolutely sick of it. Let's see. Pushing on in deeper, mostly just progress. Not a whole lot of blooms or anything over here to look at. Everything's growing as it should be, but we do have one little new bloom here that is definitely worth taking a quick look at. This is the first Oncidium sciuriforum bloom to open. Finally, painstakingly waiting for these things, and lots more to come. My Encyclia tampensis here, it had a second flush of blooms, so that would be its third blooming for 2021, and it bloomed into the new year. So loving this plant, really, really great. New growths have already started, so I'm hoping we'll have another really spectacular blooming from it. Sorry, I have absolutely no idea where I was. Nothing like a phone call to disturb you. Anyhow, really honestly, I don't think there's any more blooms left to look at in here, so we'll just take another quick scan around. Again, everything's doing well, guys. Lots and lots of progress. That's that new Silogeny down there I got from Andy's not too long ago. Let's look at this thing, because it's doing what they do, apparently. Taking off like a rocket ship. I mean, new growth all over the place. I'm gonna have to get this thing sorted out here in the very near future. Again, this is a great candidate for tree fern. So that's what we will do. I've still got a whole bunch of new medias to experiment with. You see my dirty little corner. That is going to come into play very, very soon. As you see, it is exactly how we left it, because I am not doing anything with that until I can take you guys for the ride. And again, yeah, that's all the blooms in here. Let's take a quick peek in at the tank, and we will wrap out this video. So we are now over in the tank, and the stars of the show still are these Dendrobium cuthbertsonii up here. The Tari gap right there, bicolor. This one has faded. This was supposed to be pink, but it came out red. We'll see what happens on the next blooms. It is growing well. Lots and lots of new growth on that one, so we'll see. The Mountain Magic white here, it just faded its first bloom, but it's got 3 more open. Really, really doing nicely again. And I'm still very happy to say that this awesome Masdevallia Winlandiana is still with us. Let's get a closer look. Now, it's easy to see why this is one of my favorite Masdevallias. If you get the right angle on them, they really do present themselves quite well. Beautiful little plant, and it has produced just the nicest spray of flowers for us to enjoy. The other Masdevallias are growing pretty well. I hate to say I had a spike on couple of the other ones that I've killed because of, you know, overwatering or not watering enough. Give or take, you know, pick one. It's been a tough month or so. There's been a sufficient amount of neglect shown to some of the plants, and you can probably tell, guys, you got a lot of yellow leaves and a lot of stuff going on that normally isn't going on in my collection, I hate to say. So having that said, everything is relatively healthy again. I've got you know, lots of Lepanthes in bloom. This is one of our new ones. This is let's see, Costa Ricensis. Tiny, tiny, tiny little flowers. I mean, really, really small, even for Lepanthes, but nonetheless prevalent. The Garcia is doing really, really nicely. I think every growth it has right now, just about every growth it has, is in flower. I've got lots of other Lepanthes down here. This is Dominguensis, another one of my favorites. It is in bloom as we speak. Lots of spikes coming. I know Mariposa's got lots and lots of little blooms up in there hidden. And all in all, things are doing pretty well. Again, I've got a couple issues I'm still sorting through. We definitely lost our Bulbophyllum tentaculiferum. I hate to say, it's a sad, sad loss. And it's going to be an expensive one to replace because the 4-growth division I got was like 50 bucks, I think, from Andy's. So definitely going to be on the lookout for that. Let's see. What else do we have in here to talk about? Oh, my new Andinia. This is a new genus. So this is Andinia. Goodness, can't remember the name now. Let me see. Forgive me. Platycephala. I got that from the Tarzan group, and I'm pleased to say it's a cool one. It's real fuzzy and weird, but it's got lots and lots of new growth popping up all over it. So it took a little bit to acclimate. It died back a bit. I was getting really nervous I was going to lose it, but as you see, it's got some promise. Maybe a little bit of weird mold there, but yeah, lots and lots of new growth coming at the tips, despite some dieback early on, and that's great. So anyhow, that's more or less that. I know this video has been a little bit long, but I really wanted to give you guys a nice update on a lot of things, and we will do another tank video here in the near future because this setup is not going to change, but it needs to get torn apart, it needs to get cleaned out really, really good, and I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging, I believe, while I'm at it. So we'll take a nice look at each and every plant in here in the very near future and go from there. But thank you guys again so much for joining me. Thank you so much for your patience. Again, I'm so sorry to have disappeared, but sometimes life gets in the way. What can I say? As I said, things should be about back to normal now, so please be on the lookout for regular content coming from me again. I am so excited to finally be able to get back to it and get back to what I enjoy. I feel like I've been estranged from my own orchids, and it's been a little bit miserable, I'm not gonna lie. I've missed you guys, I've missed the plants, and all the interaction and fun times we get to have on this channel and on YouTube in general. So thank you guys as always so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Please stay safe until next time. Happy growing, and thank you so much for being a part of my channel. See ya.